I've been with the company for over a month now. I cover data product accelerators here in the product team. I've been a product manager for the past 3.5 years. Have worked on some really exciting products, taking to markets and whatnot. All right. Having that said, let's deep dive right into the content. Okay, so in regards to the agenda, what we're going to be covering today, it's a brief introduction, which we just had it. We're going to be covering the overview of the DPAs, Data Product Accelerators, its vision, how do we vision this, and for it to take shape moving forward. We're going to be going over some of the launch DPAs that the team has been working on for the past quarter. Currently in-flight DPAs that we have right now, and what's next, right? So having that said, let's actually jump on. Data product accelerators. So this notion is lingering around in many data companies nowadays, and the importance of it is quite significant per se. So what is a data accelerator, right? First and foremost, it needs to solve for a particular business need or use case that the company has, right? It collects only from the technical aspect of it, right? It collects only a selective number of event types out of the product, out of the data product that you have. This data set is then modeled and structured via the DBT in your warehouse. This is then delivered in a visualization tool to provide an overview of the output that you're trying to solve. These can be via dashboards and many other insights that you can get out of the solution that we provide in the warehouse. Currently, DPAs are available to users in the form of a guided document to achieve the results in an accelerated time period. So this is pretty much the V1, the way that we are making these accelerators available to our users. And this is actually a good segue to go to the next slide, which we're going to be talking about the vision of it. Before we go in here, for any questions that you have along the way, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I've got a really good support here in the call, where from the engineering side of the house, that they can actually be able to provide any technical questions that you might have, or literally anything in regards to DPAs that's uncertain for you. So please feel free to drop in any questions that you have in the chat. All right, so I'm seeing some people in here, so let me just go ahead and meet them. What's the North Star that we're trying to solve in here? So first and foremost, this is nothing you think, right? As I just mentioned, a DPA needs to solve for a specific business need, right? You as a customer or user, you've got a business need, an identified business need that you need to solve for, right? So how do you get to the solution in a faster time period, in a quick time, from having access, creating the data, collecting your raw data, to sending it to the to your warehouse, and then how do you actually make sense of this data, which are then we're talking about the derived tables, the end goal. So so how to get from point A to point B, which sometimes seems to be a very big space in between, and we're trying to solve it for as little time as possible. Second one, right, provides an insight and or take actions. You've got this data set sent to the warehouse. That's where the DBT tool is going to run its magics, and I'm taking as an example in here the warehouses, these data can actually run, say, Snowflake, Databricks, Redshift, and whatnot, right? And how do you actually make sense of these of these restructured and modeled data, right? Via dashboards and many more. Has a referencing architecture, right? A referencing architecture. We're talking about you've got your data set out of your website. We track it. It sends it to the warehouse, have via the pipelines, and once it's sent to the pipelines, then that's where we're talking about how the architecture is going to be playing around, right? Which we are actually quite flexible. These data sets right now can actually be these DPAs can be templatized, right? You've got a DPA that you use for use case A. As you move on, you identify another business use case, right? That business use case can be similar to the previous business use case that you actually business need that you actually solved for, right? So having that said, you can use this DPA, and the way to go about it is that you can make edits, you can remove or add an event type out of the columns per se, and I think that can be super important to get you to that end result in a faster time period. So this whole thing is going, this whole bundle per se, or package, I would say, is going to be providing you with some very unique values. The way that we're actually seeing this, there's two parts. The first part is for a DPA to for you to deploy the DPA in a faster time period. The way that I actually see it as a package. Think of an application, or they can download it either out of a website or a mobile app, right? And once you download it, you go through the very steps of the very basic steps of installing it. And second, once you install it, that's where you're going to start getting values out of it, right? So to get to the end result in a quicker time fashion, as well as in an intelligent way, that's going to be the results of it. All right, we can now move on to the next slides. So what I'm going to be talking here per se is the launch DPAs. So we're shifting from that North Star vision that I have to what the team has currently worked on. Some of the DPAs that you see here, there's three basic ones, basic foundational ones in web analytics, mobile and hybrid apps, as well as mobile analytics itself, as well as a very significant one, composable CDP. So let's actually go over them one by one. First and foremost, web analytics. What this DPA provides you, right? Simply a deep understanding of the customer behavior across the website, right? Some of the tracking frameworks that we've used in this DPA are JavaScript, React, Angular, GTM, and then the event types that are being tracked. As you can see, loading a web page, clicking a link, submitting form, page views, heartbeats, link clicks, HTML form, actions, and whatnot. And as I said, these are the very basic foundational ones. And moving forward, would like users, as we approach that North Star in the previous page that I was talking about, you can actually make edits to these tracking events that you're capturing, right? You can upload once these tracking events are in place per se. You can then take it to your warehouse, right? And by using Snowflake or Databricks. And I've also added the link to the accelerator in here, that you can be able to access it. All these accelerators also, I needed to mention it in the very beginning, are actually appearing in our website. So if you go in our website and if you can hover over solutions, there's going to be Data Product Accelerators menu there. And then these web analytics, these are some of the results that you'll be able to see by using Streamlit or Databricks Notebook so far. These are, again, these dashboards, these came up with the sample data that we actually used per se. So as you can see, you can get some really important insights, and you can slice and dice it the way that you want in terms of like how you'd want it to appear in these visualization tools. Awesome. We can move on to the next DPA. We're talking about the mobile and hybrid apps in here. Again, you get a deep understanding of user behavior across iOS as well as Android mobile apps with native and embedded web views. So what this one provides not only tracks everything that's in your mobiles. However, if these mobile apps that you have, they have web views. So I open an app, I click into a link, a web view actually pops up within the app, right? So it's a mixture of these two. From the tracking perspective, I mean, as you can see, iOS, Android, and then you can add the npm package to the JavaScript or TypeScript app in order to install the web view tracking into it as well. You can upload this data to Snowflake and link. You can also access this link here as well as in our website. So we have made it available via Streamlit from the dashboards aspect, and you can actually see what it actually tracks as well as being shown in a website. I'm sorry, in the dashboard. So total sessions, average session, total users, sessions by device, and whatnot. So yeah. Okay. We can move on to the next slide. This is another foundational data product accelerator that the team has worked on, has launched per se. You get a deep understanding of user engagement across mobile apps. Tracking wise, it supports iOS, Android, React Native, as well as Flutter. Tracked events, first start of the app after installation, app goes to the foreground as well as background, app screen is viewed, screen views, lifecycle events, as well as installation events. And in addition to this one, you can actually add more event types that you'd like, what it needs to track and whatnot. Very customizable. You can use Snowflake for it. And this is, again, the exact same kind of outcome that you can actually see in Streamlit. So yeah. And then last but not least, in regards to the launch DPAs that we had in the past quarter, that we had early this quarter, are composable CDPs. Composable CDPs using Databricks, right? What this one does is using the data that you have already tracked with say with the previous DPA for web per se. you've got this data in Databricks, right? And then within the Databricks, all the DBT tool as well as machine learning it kicks in, where it can create a propensity score conversion to help customers decide which users to activate through high touch, and to activate through high touch in regards to what type of users do we need to target for certain marketing campaigns, and to get us better results in terms of conversions and whatnot. Again, this was an example that I use, but there's many more. So yeah, so as you can see, this data comes here. The data has been tracked in the pipeline, and then we use the pipelines to send it to the Databricks. You've got the atomic tables in there, and then the derived tables are going to be created, and everything else gets consolidated here in the customer golden record, which is a blend of Snowplow data that we've created, as well as third-party sources data. Everything has been added in here, and provides you with those propensity score conversions per se. All right. So these were the 4 DPAs that we have worked on. And these are all launched. You'd be able to see them in our website, as I mentioned. And for any questions, please feel free, because we want to also understand your point of view, as well as get some important feedback out of them. So now let's talk a little bit about in-flight DPAs that we have, right? These are all coming, these 3 ones are coming in the Q4 launch time. So the launch timeline per se, so by December. And these are actually quite significant ones. If we are to compare with the previous ones, significant ones, because from the business point of view, what customers have asked us and what we've understood, talking to the customers, users, or partners and whatnot, right? So let's start the first one, right? E-commerce DPA. This is pretty much, this is essentially a creation of e-commerce tracking and modeling using GCP and visualization via Looker and Streamlit. One thing that I wanted to note, this is at the very, very high level what I've added in here, but more details are going to come on these 3 DPAs, and I'd love to actually run some sort of demo of them to all you guys, from the business aspect, and then we can drill down into the details of them. The second one, this is also a super important one, consent DPA, right? What this one essentially does, collects data about data processing, consent selection. So a brand new user comes into your website, right? In the very bottom, they see do you approve terms and conditions and whatnot of this website, right? And then they hit approve. They can go ahead and move on with the rest of the things that they need to do in the website, or pretty much they hit disapprove, right? Having that said, all these users that coming into your website, the company that owns the website pretty much has visibility across all these potential customers per se, and they would like to use these target customers for marketing campaigns per se. If a customer says hits no, disapprove, then that company is not entitled to actually send out reach out marketing campaigns to them. So these constant DPA provides a very unique way of the next things, next to do things, to do tasks for a marketer when they do all the reach outs. The other DPA, which I think is also as important, and is the marketing or marketing attribution or ad attribution. This one per se provides an insight on the impact that ads have on different channels. So say you've got a variety of ads added, say on Facebook, Google, TikTok, you name it, right? And you want to understand how impactful these ads are, right? And what are they providing? What are the conversions that these ads are actually sending to us, right? So having that good understanding is really going to help out customers on reaching out it's going to give some very important insights on where they would want to actually position themselves on these ads from the marketing budget per se. It reports on marketing, it reports on campaign metrics. You can actually create granular customer journeys in order to understand intent and context, how the customer journey comes from the third-party application, Facebook or Google per se, and how do they actually, what's their journey that ends to the website? Is it in a conversion or not, right? And that's where you can actually understand what are some of the areas that you need to work on in your website in order to make it better, X and Y, Z. But also at the same time to see how these ads are performing and where you'd like to actually put the efforts in terms of the budgets and whatnot. And last but not least, create attribution models that assign relative ROIs, ROAS for every single touch point, exactly what I just mentioned previously. So yeah, these are in-flight DPAs that we currently have so far. Obviously, this is a very high-level overview that I just provided, and I'm also still catching up on understanding the very details of them. However, more details in depth per se are going to be coming up at the end of December as we launch these DPAs, which I think are super important as well as significant in what you're trying to achieve. All right, this is it in regards to this, and then what's next, right? These are some what are we trying to achieve next, right? So first and foremost is build DPAs, to build a library of DPAs. Me talking to a variety of stakeholders in the company who have direct access to the customers, partners, and whatnot, right? I've received some really important feedback in regards to what type of DPAs do we need to build next. And these are some of the common ones, as well as the important ones that everyone has emphasized. I have added them in here. I would like you guys to take a moment and add in the chat which one you'd think are important from your point of view in here for us to that you'd like to actually get a hold of them first per se. So right now, me as well as Craig in the engineering team, we're actually working on the prioritization aspect of these DPAs, but would also love to have your point of view. So in the chat, take a moment and if you could rank them based on what you think would be the most important ones to the least one, I think that would be quite important.
Okay, yeah, so if you'd like, yeah, that's great, Rajiv, thanks for that, that's brilliant. So yeah, basically it's a beauty contest. Which ones do you think should come first, second, third, and fourth? And while you're also doing that, I'm going to launch a very quick poll.
There you go. Perfect.
But actually, this is completely different, Etien. This
Okay.
is about start times. But yes, I should have done a poll on these choices. So far, 3 o'clock is the clear winner. Oh, I'm going to put money on 3 o'clock. I'm a betting. Oh, okay. I've kind of hijacked your prioritization. I'm sorry for
No,
that.
it's
I was too eager. I pressed it too soon.
no problem.
Okay, yes. So we've had some customer journey from Torsten.
We can wait for another couple of minutes and then we can.
Well, also people can still continue filling in their preferences while we do the Q&A session as well.
Yeah, certainly. This is actually my last slide. So right now we're actually open to 20 questions as well as seeing this. Let me open the chat myself also.
Well, thanks, Etien. So let's go over to the questions. We've got a couple that have come in already.
Okay.
So I'll start with the questions that we've got pre-filled from earlier. And then if anybody's got a question, they can either enter it in the chat or probably just unmute yourself and talk away. There's not too many people here that will talk over each other. Okay,
Yeah.
so the first question is, do you have any plans to make different visualization tool sets available for the DPAs?
Yeah. So some of these okay, so let me actually talk a little bit about the library of DPAs that we currently have so far, right? So Streamlit, Tableau, Power BI, Looker, Hightouch, and Databricks Notebook, right? So these are some of the common and very powerful ones that we're currently working on. As you could see, some of these DPAs, they fall in one or two of these pools that we have. However, moving forward, the plan is to make it available to all these tools, and I think that can give customers more choices when they to actually see how they would want those outcomes and dashboards to look like per se.
Okay, so theoretically, a customer or an open source user could decide to use a different visualization tool at the end of this DPA.
That's correct. However, right now, for instance, some of these DPAs they fall either under the Databricks Notebook or Streamlit. So right now you've got only two or three choices, or Looker per se. But moving forward, that's going to be a part of it for sure.
Okay, a second question, which is really dear to my heart, is are you thinking of encouraging third parties to produce their own DPAs that the community could use or whatever?
Yes, yes, certainly. What we're trying to achieve with these DPAs, right? We're trying to create that customer 360 story per se, where a customer can have a bundle of DPAs to not only achieve one single business use case or business need that they have, right? But more of them. Oh, I've got I need to look at the conversion, but also at the same time, how does this conversion play out with my CRM and whatnot, right? So the plan is definitely create a customer 360. The way that you create the customer 360 is cover the basics, cover the foundational aspect of DPAs that we can do with first-party DPAs, and then you can actually inject the third-party DPAs, which are also going to be quite significant ones in order to support that customer 360 that I've got in the back of my mind. So certainly and definitely yes.
Okay, thanks for that.
right. Any other questions that you can see in chat that's unanswered, or anyone, please feel free to come off mute in here. As you can see, I'm still learning, and I would like to make this one a two-way conversation. And this is, but what I genuinely feel is that we're building something super significant for our company as well as for our customers. And having that said, sometimes it takes a village in order to get to that North Star. So, and that can be done without your feedback. So yeah, feel free to also reach out to me. I put my email address in here for any questions or clarifications that you need, or literally any interest regarding any DPA that you see. I'm simply one email away.
Thank you, Etien. That's awesome. We actually do have one more question.
All right.
Someone would love to know, where do the DPAs fall in the priority order for our 23 roadmap?
Yes, that's actually a very good question. They are actually on top of my priority list per se when it comes to the roadmap. So we can talk a little bit about that one. When it comes to the roadmap, two main things needs to happen, right? First and foremost, start by building this library of DPAs, right, to go to that customer 360 story that I just mentioned. And second is build the infrastructure of these DPAs in order for a customer to deploy it in an easier as well as in an easier fashion, and to get to which is going to allow them to get to the value in a quick in a quick time, as well as make this whole process of DPAs to not only be used by one single persona, aka a very technical data engineer type of persona, but also to be used by data analysts, business analysts, right? You've got, say, an example can be, we've got an existing DPA. Oh, guess what? I can go ahead and use this one, the templatization that I was actually mentioning, right? I can take this DPA and I can use it for X and YZ use case. But guess what? I need to add one event type or remove an event type, right? These can actually be by simply selecting, seeing the event type out of your data product that you have. You can hit select and then you can send it over, or by drag and drop, depending on how we decide to build it, right? So to make it as friendly for a variety of persona types as possible, that's one of my goals in here, which I think, based on the conversation that I've had with the majority of people, not only here in the company, but also external users, it's going to that's going to be the North Star that everyone is looking for. So yeah.
Thank you, Etien. I love that accessibility aspect.
Yeah.
If anybody missed, Craig did add the links to all the accelerators in the chat. If you want to just scroll up, you'll be able to have access to that. Is there anything else anyone would like to add? Eddie or Jeff?
There's another question in the chat. There's a couple of questions in the chat, actually. There's a quick look. Yeah.
Okay, we have a question. What about DPAs not for use cases, but which are capability focused? An example given was, would it be good for non-techies to be able to wrangle snowplow data without the need for engineers to some extent?
Yes, that's exactly what I was actually mentioning, right? So first and foremost, to have this DPA deployable in a very easy easy way. The example that I actually brought earlier would be to install or deploy DPA the way that you install an application out of your phone or website per se, where you can actually go through those installations step by step that literally anyone can do. Right now, anything that happens in there is that you simply need to know SQL code, right, in order to make any of this happen. So yes, it's definitely in the plans as well as in the roadmap. So I'm glad that whoever said it in there mentioned it, and yes, it's a very significant one.
That's awesome. Sorry, 1 second. First party data wizard. Okay, so we have a follow-up. Just to clarify, he said he is talking about a first party data wizard, type compatibility. I'm abroad, bad internet.
So yeah, he's talking about
You might be able to get better than what I just tried to explain.
yeah, he's talking about, this is Rajiv, he's talking about first-party Snowplow Data Wizard, or a GUI type capability with the DPAs.
Yes, and Craig, please help me if I'm missing anything in here. But the way that I see it is that you pretty much you created the data. You can actually see this data in the atomic tables, right? And you can go ahead and add or remove an event type or an event type to pretty much to the atomic tables, right? And this can simply be done by simply drag and dropping. Am I missing anything? Or please come off mute if possible. Or Craig, please help me here.
So yeah, so the idea here is that with the accelerators, what we've done is we started with the visualization element and actually building your data using some sample data. So rather than concentrating mostly on the tracking element and making sure that Snowplow set up fully in your tracking environment, we want to be able to show you the power of Snowplow visualizations and modeling of the data. So the idea here is to try and take users through, and people like data analysts who aren't necessarily engineers and web engineers, and actually have that element of pulling the data together first. So as Rajiv says, is a type of GUI element, not yet, but it's something that we are working on in the background. We want to try and make these as interactive as possible so that the reliance on having engineers working on this is minimized, so that you can concentrate on modeling the data and actually publishing it and visualizing it.
Correct, yes.
We have another question. We would love to know, are we going to be sharing performance benchmarks for the DPAs in case someone wants to migrate their current models over?
Yes, then I feel like I think this is actually a very important topic. And correct me if I'm wrong here again, but the plan that the way that I'm actually thinking about this DPA performance per se is that how this data is going to be pulled as well as performing in the end result, right? And then based on that one, it's going to give you those DPA scores within the DPA to see how it's performing and whatnot. Am I correct here, Craig?
Yeah, I just want to clarify the question. Are we talking about performance benchmarking for the actual building of the models and the visualization, or the performance benchmarking of actually running the models? Because I think they're two different things, because what we show on the first page of the accelerator is the time it will take you to run the process from end to end. So, for example, the web analytics implementation will take around about 8 hours to run from end to end, from starting off at the first page, working your way through all of the implementation of the sample data, the data modeling, the visualization, and then the tracking. We think you can get through that in pretty much around about a working day.
Yeah, my question was about the performance of GPT models on a day-to-day basis.
Got you. So yeah, so those models we're not doing any sort of performance benchmarking specifically on them, but what we do is we will create those DBT models based on the use cases that we've provided. And I'm not sure about how frequently they try and run the aggregation. I think that the aggregation routines are run daily, but I don't know if there's any specific performance benchmarks. That's probably one we need to take away and have a look at and look into more.
Yeah, and Thanks for actually clarifying it. One of the I believe the Composite CDP one also had some of that in the nuances of it. So I need to look further into it, and I can get back to you for sure.
Thank you. Is there anything else anyone would like to add? Any last minute questions? No? Okay, thank you guys. So based on the polls, it seems that this time works for everybody. So going forward, we'll most likely stick with a 3 p.m. GMT time or 1500 GMT time. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you again, Etien. Thank you, Craig, for helping as well. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.